Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. We have been having a very dry fall. It's only rained a couple of times over the last few months, and my cube was getting down in water. I was down to below 300 liters from the 1,000 liter cube. I wasn't worried. I had enough water to last a couple more weeks. But last night it started warming up, and this morning it rained, and it rained the entire morning and filled my cube up to 1,000 liters. So I was happy to get that. And today it's really warm out. It's t-shirt weather. It feels like summer out here. It's kind of warm and humid. So today I thought I'd work on a tropical tree. Today I'm going to be repotting my Ginseng Ficus. This started off as a grocery store tree that my brother bought, and the original foliage on the top died, and then it sprouted from the original rootstock. It was a grafted tree. So all this foliage is the same tree as the roots now. And I last repotted this in April of 2018, so it's been over 6 years since I've repotted this tree. And it's always been growing nicely. It's never suffered in vigor or anything, even though it's been growing for 6 years in the same small pot. So it's not going to be an easy repot. You can see I've got roots growing over the pot down into the bottom. I've got some roots that are very thick, one going out the back here. So I'm going to be doing, I think, some fairly major root work today, kind of cleaning up the root structure, and refreshing the soil so it can grow another, well, I don't know how long, in the same pot. Here is a look at the tree. So I did a lot of root carving on this tree, and that was also 6 years ago that I did that root carving. And it's starting to heal and looking, well, almost natural. It's getting there anyway. And yeah, I've been very happy. The tree's developed a lot from when I first got it. I'll show you some pictures of it just after I started training it as a bonsai. So the first thing I did on this tree, it had these giant ginseng roots on it. I took a saw and I just cut it off at the thickest point, and then I rooted it in as a big cutting in a clay nursery pot. And then after it started growing the top again, I transferred it to this pot. I'll show you a quick video of what the tree looked like 6 years ago, and then I'll start the repotting. I'm dying to see what the roots have done, so I think I'm going to put this tree in this pot. So I'll just run my tool around the edges here, loosen it up. I'm going to rake the roots into a radial pattern so the tree sits flat on the table. These great big ginseng-like roots, there's two choices with them. You can either try and grow aerial roots that cover them up so you get finer roots on the surface of them, or you can cut them into sections and they'll eventually kind of start rounding and look like individual roots. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut them into sections. I'm going to carve 2 grooves down the center, so I'll break them into 3 separate roots. I'm going to start by running my carving tool down the root, so I'm going to start about here, and I'll just carve a groove down. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. Using this as the front, I'm going to test fit the tree in the pot again. So it does fit. There's a few roots that could be corrected here. Like this one kind of comes straight out. I don't like that. So I'm going to take that off. The rest sit pretty good. Quite a big tree for this pot. I didn't expect it to be quite this big. However, there's lots of room for roots to grow in it. It's not a small pot by any means. It's just shallow. Combing the roots out, seeing what's hitting the edge of the pot and what needs trimming, if anything. Here's a look at the tree in the pot now. That's all the work I'll be doing here today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me. here in the bonsai zone. Here's the tree today. So my first step is to get the tree out of the pot, and I have a few options with these roots. I can try and untangle them and keep them. Like this one's quite nice. It's not too thick. It looks quite natural. I think it adds to the composition. But the one out the back, this one here, I think it's getting too thick and it's not a nice direction or anything. So I think that one will have to get cut off. This one's quite nice. And I think there's one over here that looks quite good too. So I think I'll start by cutting this root off, and then I'll try untangling all the other aerial roots and try and keep them if I can. Alright, I'm going to start by cutting this root, and I'm going to cut it somewhere where I can reach it easily. So right here, so here I go. So that is removed. That'll help me get the tree out of the pot. This one I'm going to try and remove it, spread it out a bit. It's all entangled in the under tray here. So I think I will cut this one root. It's a bit long, so I'll cut that. That's got that one untangled. There's another root here that I can try untangling. It's really fused in down below. Maybe I'll try and... This one I can't get out. It's pulling out nicely there. The one out the front, oh, it's really fused in there. But I think I can get it. Let me see. So the top comes off of this. You can see the pot lifts from the stand here. So maybe if I lift it all out like that, it'll help me. Okay, so I could take the stand away. So now I can see what's going on here. There's lots of roots in the bottom and the under tray. So I think, you know, a lot of that was feeding the tree. It's like a backup reservoir. So there's roots growing out the drainage hole here, and I'll cut those. I don't want them growing out the drainage holes, so I'll just cut them off roughly at first, like that. There's another one growing out a drainage hole here. I can cut that one, and another one here. So that's gone. And then I need to get this root untangled. I don't know where this one comes from, but I'm going to cut it away. It's not a good root. So that one can be removed. But this one I'm hoping to keep. Okay, it's coming out here. It's a long one. There. And I think I'm getting it. Okay, I've got most of it. I've just got to get this part now. There. Okay, and okay, so that root is free. So there is this one now. Let's see if I can get that one out. There. Okay, so I have it separated now. So all my roots there's another one going from the one drainage hole to the other one here. And cut that away. Turn these ones back. And there's another one going from a drainage hole to a drainage hole. Another one coming out the drainage hole here. Okay, so that's got everything released. So now I should be able to set the pot down and try and lift the tree out. So this will be interesting. So here I go. There it goes. The tree is out of the pot. So this pot is 3D printed and it's lasted really well. It's made with Color Fab's Engen plastic. So it's a tough plastic. It's held up really, really well. And I painted it to look like concrete. Okay. So there is what I'm left with. Quite a brick of roots. So my next step is to comb out all the soil from the root system. So I will place the tree down. Make sure all the aerial roots are spread out. I'll take away this mat of roots, put that on the compost heap. So now I'll get my root rake and I'll start combing out the moss and the soil from the root system. If you had asked me when I had last repotted this, I probably would have said 4 years ago. And it's been over 6, so time flies when you're doing bonsai. So there's a drainage screen in here. I think it's a one piece, so it'll be fused in with the root base pretty good, I think. But I'll get it out. I always do. So you can see there's a few roots that are really long here. And I'm not really sure where they come from. So this is a case where I can cut halfway because there's lots of length in them, like that. Here comes the drainage screen. For so many years in this pot, it's actually, the roots still had some space to grow. It wasn't jam-packed as I thought it would be. I mean, it's full, but it's not impossible to comb out. Yeah, there was lots of space still in the pot. Lots of soil, room for the roots to grow still. So. And I've never let this tree grow, really huge. I keep it fairly pruned because I don't want it becoming a large tree. I just want to improve the quality of it and branch structure and trunk over the years. But I don't want to grow it into a giant ficus. I have enough of those. I don't want to make giant ones, but I have some large ones. I think the tree is close enough to go over to the washing station and I can continue to rake out the soil and the water. I think it'll help me. So let's go over there now. All right, I got some fresh rainwater last night. Into the water the tree goes. Hi, kitty. And I'll try and remove all the soil from the roots so I can have a good look and see what's going on. I am back in the greenhouse here, so now I'm looking at the roots. I'm just sort of untangling them. So I want all the roots to flow from the trunk of the tree into the ground, is my goal, is to get them nice and radial. And any roots that don't look miniature and to scale, I want to remove. To create, a powerful looking tree, but very small. So I can already see there's a root coming off here, an aerial root that's come down, and it goes underneath the tree. So I'm going to remove that one. Because it's not flowing. So here I go. Cutting it off from the top, and then I'll try and pull it out. There it comes. Yeah, so that one's out. So a lot of these roots, instead of flowing outwards, they're kind of constricted by the pot, and they've grown straight down or underneath the tree. So I want to just keep my good ones. So this one crosses, so it's got to come out. There's another one underneath here that goes up. So that one has to come out too. Now, can I get it out is the question. Well, there I go. I think it's still attached, and I can redirect it into radial direction, so that's good. So I'm just going to have to really carefully examine all the roots. So here's one on the bottom. You can see it comes down, and it must have been one of the original ginseng roots that was cut off. Yeah, and it's growing here, so I don't want that. It kind of grows underneath the tree, so I've got to prune that off at least to here, removing the part that goes underneath the tree. And I could nibble that back a little bit. Like that. There's another one on the bottom here that has to get removed. It's not a good root. It's growing kind of across the root base. That's gone. There's another one sticking down here. I think that one was growing out of a drainage hole. Here's one growing back in towards the root system. That can come out. It's not contributing to the flare of the root base. There's another little potato root here I can cut off. Like that. This one I can shorten. This one be taken back. So this is the root that was attached to the drainage screen, and I can see that it kind of comes out radially, and then this part of it curls under, so that's got to be removed. And there's a root sticking up here that can be removed, so that part has to be removed. So I'm going to try and separate these roots here. And even this one, if I can, I don't know. That one's really fused in there. But sometimes a bit of prying can get them apart. Let me see if I can use something to pry that apart. Maybe the scissors. It's fused, but sometimes you can break that fusion and keep the root. Maybe not. It's really fused in there. Well, I have to cut this part off anyway, so I'm going to start there. I'm going to cut right here, keeping the radial parts of that root. I think I gotta go just a little little deeper like that, yeah. Then I've got that root free, but it's still fused to this big part. But it's coming. A bit of prying always does the job. There. Okay. And there's another root here that is fused to this big one that I'm going to have to try and get that unfused too. I'm going to have to cut it. It's really attached. So off it comes right here. So that got that big bulbous part that was going a non-radial direction off. And I can, that root's okay. This one, you can see it's not radial, it has to be cut off, so I'll do that. My battery ran out on the camera, so I changed batteries. So I did remove that root. And I was looking at this big root at the back here. You can see it's really thick. It was one of the ginseng roots, and I carved it all. And it's still really quite ugly. There is an aerial root coming off it, which is quite nice. But this part, it just looks terrible. It's big and bulbous. So, and it's at the back of the tree. You don't really see it except for a little bit of it. So I think I'm going to try and remove most of it. And this may be quite hard to do. Try and keep this one, and then come in here and cut on one of my score lines. Part of that root, it's just not very good. I don't know how I'm going to do that. Well, let's get rid of this root on the bottom here. It's not going in a good direction. And then I'll try and keep cutting away here. Trying to cut away sections of it. There we go, there's one section of it off. And maybe I'll have to nibble this away. That's helping. It's keeping some of the nicer roots, but it's still very bulbous here. So I think I've got to come in here. The flow line is here, the radial direction, and these are getting a little far out. So I'm going to try and remove this section now. Done it, yeah. A bit of snipping in here to release it. Okay, there was another root fused to the side of it. I'll have to take that back to there. So you can see that root's a lot skinnier now. Now there is some pretty big scars to heal, but you know, some of this dead wood will rot away and the other bits will heal. So eventually it'll look totally natural. And that's always the goal in bonsai, is to make the tree look like it was never touched by a human being. Yeah, so that's sorted this root out somewhat. Now there is a part of it going straight down here that needs to be trimmed off. It's getting kind of bulbous there. Here's a root here going the wrong direction. Take that out. There's one here going the wrong direction. Take that out. This one can be shortened. Kind of flattening the root base out on the bottom. Okay, that's looking better. I'm going to clean up my workplace here, and then we'll come back and do more root pruning. I'm looking at the front of the tree now. So all these roots are looking fairly good. There's a few here that kind of curl underneath rather than flowing out, and it makes this root kind of stop. It doesn't flow into the soil. So I'm going to snip those off and try and grow roots that are more radial, coming off of that thick root there. So hopefully something will flow outwards. So I'll try and leave some room in the pot for roots to grow out the front here. There's a few roots that are too long here. I'm going to snip back. Okay. There's a lot going on here, but it's all good, I think. I will get my tweezers and just remove some of that moss to see what's going on. That's looking okay. So I'm just going around the tree now. So the back's a bit of a mess. I'll try when I repot it, putting this root over further to kind of make it a little more radial. There's some roots here that are kind of going a funny direction. I'll get rid of those. Just get rid of some of the soil so I can see what's going on in here. Can I do any more correction at the back is the question. I don't think I can do a whole lot more. This root looks good for now, and I think there's a branch coming off of it or something. And I'm wondering, is that going to cause a problem in the future? Probably, because it's not radial, it'll thicken up. I better remove it now. It's just going to cause a problem as it thickens up, so off it comes. That's gone. Yeah, I think that's all the root pruning I can do on this tree. I did quite a bit. Now, does it sit flat? It sits a little... Some of these thick ones are stopping me. Like at the moment it's kind of... I guess that's right. I could take a little bit off the end here, just so it sits nice and level in the pot. And a bit off here. Yeah, that sits better now. It sits flat. It's got a good orientation, the tree. Yeah, so I think that's it. I think I've done as much root work as I can on the tree today. And these long ones, they'll go over the edge of the pot like they were. Okay, so I'll get the pot cleaned up and we'll come back and plant the tree. Here's a look at what I took off the tree today. So, you know, some big bulbous sections of roots. Yeah. I did a fair amount of correction. So there's the tree now. And I think it'll help it. It'll look better and better into the future. Okay, I've got the pot all cleaned up and I re-washed the roots on the tree just to make sure there's no soil in there. So first thing I need to do is get a drainage screen in the bottom of the pot, and I think because I have so many holes in the bottom of the pot, I'll just put a one piece in again. Get my length right. And this pot, you can find the file for the upper part on Thingiverse. It's a website that has 3D models and you can download it for free and 3D print it yourself. I don't have the file for the columns. If I find it, I'll post it. I've got it in my backup somewhere. I just have never come across it yet. But when I do, I'll post it. But I think most people could model it, I think, the columns. Okay, so there's my drainage screen fitted for the bottom. Just unfold that part. Yeah, like that. That'll keep all the soil secure. I'll put it back on top of the columns here. So there's my pot. It's all ready to plant the tree. So I'll put a base layer of soil on the bottom, not too much because, you know, I don't want the tree sticking up in the air too much. So just a light layer of soil. Just enough to cover the bottom of the pot. And if I have to raise the tree up higher, well, I can always add more soil underneath. But think I want it quite low. This isn't a big pot, and I don't want it sticking up too far. Okay, so that's covered the bottom of the pot. Now let's try the tree in position here. So I think these roots were in like that. That one was out the back and wrapped around underneath. That one went underneath here. And that one in here. These ones, I don't think they were hanging out of the pot, so I may have to trim those. So let me see the position now. I want to move it back a bit in the pot if I can. So what is stopping me doing that is I gotta get this pot, this root rearranged into the soil like that. I don't know, I think that one was coming out. So this root here stops me moving it back in the pot any further. I would like it back just a little bit more. So, what can I do? I can cut it off. That's what I can do. A little off the bottom. And so that's got me back a bit further. I don't think I need to take any more off. It's got some room up front here. This root's kind of springing against the edge. I could take a little more off that one. It's hanging down a little low. Okay. That's better. I have room at the front now. Yeah, that's actually quite good. The position in the pot looks good there. I think I've got that right. The tree kind of goes to the left a bit. It sort of sweeps to the left, the root system. So it's over a bit in the pot. I could maybe come over just a bit more. Maybe there. Yeah, that looks really balanced to me. Okay, so now I have to figure out these roots here. What's going on with them. What I want to keep and what I need to trim. Okay. So this root I wanted to reposition a bit. So I think I need to put something in here to hold it into a more radial direction. I've got a wood chip that I think will work. I can put that between the roots and that'll rot away eventually. So that holds that in a better radial direction. I think I'm ready to fill the tree in with soil. Let me just take a last look at it. Make sure everything's looking good. Looks good from the front. Looks good from the back, the sides. Yeah, I think that's a good repotting. Okay, so now I can start filling it in with soil. I'm going to use a little bit of sand, playground sand, as a top dressing, just to make sure I have good contact with the surface roots so they don't dry out or anything. It's kind of like putting a layer of moss on the top of your soil. It kind of holds a nice layer of moisture there. It's also easy to tell when your tree's drying out because the sand dries out first. Okay, that should do it. So now I am ready to water the tree. So here I go. Okay, that will do it. Today's update is my Repotting temple. There is some nice sunlight shining on it, and I think it looks really good in that light. It looks very mysterious. Yeah, so I thought I'd show you that as today's update. I've got my Vietnam style ficus repotted. I was quite happy with the root pruning and everything. I think it has a good chance of recovering quickly and continuing to grow. I will have to add some drainage screen to the bottom and fill that with soil, but I need a decorative soil for that, so I'll have to wait until I buy some safety zorb, and I'll fill that with safety zorb in the bottom, so that'll come another day. But the major repotting is all done, so I'll keep the tree warm in good light, and it can stay out here in the greenhouse until the weather cools down again, and then it'll have to go in the plant room for the winter. So yeah, I think it's a step forward for this tree. I got a lot of roots sorted out. I think it's improved. I think the root system looks better at the back now. It was always kind of a bit of a tangled mess. But yeah, it's improved a lot, I think. Yeah, it's a step forward for this tree. It should continue to grow with lots of vigor in the future. And I'll keep working on it, trying to make it better and better. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.